It's been a few weeks, but welcome back to Financial Freedom with Sean Lamboris. I hope you enjoyed my last video about paying down debt. I got some great feedback. As a matter of fact, Colin from Chicago wrote, while he liked my video and it was informative, I omitted a very important financial concept, keeping an emergency fund. And you know what, Colin? You're absolutely right, and I didn't talk about it. So that's what we're going to cover today, emergency funds. While paying down debt is important, we should never let our savings account balance reach zero. We don't want to deplete our funds. Now, life is crazy, and sometimes it throws you a curveball. And those curveballs can be expensive. That's why we need an emergency fund. Now, an emergency fund is just that. It's money set aside to help you get through an emergency. An emergency could be an illness or accident that keeps you out of work for a while. It could be an unexpected job loss. There's a whole bunch of federal employees right now who are looking for jobs. It could be a surprise vehicle or home repair. A couple weeks ago, I opened up the cabinet underneath my kitchen sink to find a huge flood. The garbage disposal had cracked and was leaking water everywhere. Now, I was able to go to the hardware store, buy some parts, and fix it myself. It cost about $150. If I wasn't handy, that could have been a $400 or $500 emergency repair. Now, studies show that about half of Americans don't have the funds to cover a $1,000 emergency. So that's our first goal, is to save $1,000 and put it aside in an emergency fund. Now, once you've saved and set aside your $1,000 emergency fund, you can move on to your second goal, and that's to save 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, living expenses is not the same as your salary. Living expenses is the bare minimum you spend to pay all of your bills, to eat, and to live each month. Now, let's say, for an example, your living expenses are $5,000 a month. To save 3 months' worth, that's $15,000. 6 months' worth is going to be $30,000. That's your goal. Now, what if you have debt? Well, you need to continue making the minimum payments on all of your debt. But you may be saying to yourself, Sean, in your last video, you told me to pay down debt. Well, should you focus on paying down your debt or building your emergency fund? Well, everyone's situation is different. The point of an emergency fund is to have money available to cover financial emergencies so that you don't have to take on bad debt, like high interest rate credit cards. If you already have bad debt, say you're paying 20 or 30% on credit cards, you've already made some poor financial decisions. In that situation, I would prioritize attacking and eliminating your bad debt before you start working on and accumulating your 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Once all your bad debt is gone and the only debt remaining is good, low interest rate debt, you can start focusing on saving that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So who should focus on the 3 month versus the 6 month emergency fund? Well, the ideal candidate for a 3 month emergency fund may be a single person with no kids. Maybe you have a stable job, you feel comfortable there, and you're not going to get laid off. Or you have skills that are in high demand so that if you did get laid off, you'd be able to land another job quite easily and quickly. Who should opt for the 6 month emergency fund? Well, if you're married and have kids, you have more responsibilities. If you have unstable employment, or if your skills or profession are not in high demand. So if you were laid off or let go, it may take a while to find another job. Or if the economy's bad and there's limited opportunities, perhaps there's a recession or high unemployment. So where should you keep your emergency fund? Well, I want you to isolate that money. Put it in its own account. Don't mix it with your primary savings or checking account. If you see a large balance being carried month after month, you may be tempted to spend it. Don't put yourself in that situation. It should also be in a safe account, meaning an account that won't lose value, and a liquid account, meaning you'll have access to your money anytime you need it. I recommend a high yield savings account. Generally, the online banks have better rates than the brick and mortar banks, or a money market, or possibly a very short-term CD, like a 1 month duration CD. I wouldn't put it in a CD that's any longer than that. Also, I wouldn't put it in the stock market. Stock market fluctuates from day to day. It can have large swings upwards, or it can have large swings to the downside. Don't do it. Now, a properly funded emergency fund will accomplish a couple things for you. It's going to reduce your stress, knowing that you have money set aside to take care of any financial emergencies you may encounter. Additionally, it's going to help you avoid making poor financial decisions when those emergencies occur, and they will occur. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear your feedback. If you learned something today, follow my channel and smash that like button.